despite being an anti-Semite, which obviously that's a bad thing. Henry Ford did popularize the assembly line. He paid twice as much to his employees than the average of American employers paid their employees, and they could afford the cars they built. A milkman in the 50s and 60s, the guy who delivered milk, which was a thing apparently back in the day, someone with a low-paying job could afford to pay for himself, his wife, and his kids. Cost of housing in the 50s was 1 year's salary. You could pay that off in just a couple years, a few years probably. I talked to somebody I know, he's got a 30-year payment plan. So this is the land of the free. What's free? Healthcare isn't. My body's failing and I can't find a job that'll pay me a living wage. My car's falling apart. Any cost to that's just a bunch more money that I can't afford, but I need a car so I can make money. I can't afford to do all these things and take care of my kid without some dramatic upheaval of our lives. Maybe I should find a significant other. But without money, you can't really have a significant other. A lot of people just start dating someone so it makes their lives easier monetarily. I could settle for a significant other that I don't really care about, like a lot of people do. But what would that do to my kid or the other person's mental state? You can't afford a therapist as a proletariat or blue-collar worker. Forget falling in love. There's too many bills for all that. They want us to fall into debt. And if you don't find someone to share bills with, you're fucked. Find a mediocre person who can help you flip the bill and stay in a loveless relationship so you can barely stay afloat. And then there's the jobs. Jobs that treat you like shit because they know they can. Even though oftentimes, management doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're just glorified babysitters trying to appease their overlord bosses so their bosses can make more wealth for themselves. But if they were smart, like Henry Ford, except for the anti-Semite thing, you would figure out that you can make more money if your employees are treated properly. Same thing as our government. If they took care of us, the citizens that pay for their salaries with our taxes, America would be great again. Imagine if we had a country full of moral integrity and intelligence. What would that look like? Instead, there's hordes of our fellow countrymen who are egocentric, greed-filled, and put their boots on the necks of the people underneath them. Maybe it took a really bad turn when we got off the gold standard and created the Federal Reserve, where we get imaginary money from nowhere that creates an ongoing cycle of debt. When they crash our stock market from this crazy gambling Federal Reserve game that they've installed, instead of bailing out Main Street, they bail out Wall Street, the guys who created the problem. And then they give the CEOs bonuses. All the while, our suicide rates have gone up and our drug overdoses have gone up. So our lives are arguably better than they were 100 years ago. But then if that's the case, why are we killing ourselves with drugs and suicide? We work 2 jobs so we can barely get by and buy the newest designer clothes so somebody will fuck us. And the people that fuck us, sometimes they just want an easy ride. To them, material goods is more important than a true connection. Not community, not connection. What's one of the best ways to keep people in line and keep this ongoing facade going? Keep us fighting, keep us segregated. We keep fighting amongst ourselves while the 1% are laughing all the way to the bank. And the middle class who pretend like they have the best lives. Well, they're one mistake from losing it all. They're in debt for the next 20 years because of college and this house they bought so they can look like they're wealthy, but they're really just living on credit and debt. So for the next 20 years, they're going to try to keep up with the Joneses. And then they've got to keep their somewhat lucrative insurance jobs. They don't want to lose these jobs that take advantage of poor people, because then they will also become poor. So here's the middle class, flipping the bill for everyone else, paying more than their fair share in taxes, while the 1% take their penis rockets into space with their girlfriends. And then the children grow up seeing their parents not really giving a shit about each other, fucking other people over to get ahead. And then they grow up thinking that's the way the world works and that's the way it should be. And it's a never-ending cycle unless people break it. Why do you think children of poor families grow up and become criminals? Our media, our TV, our news, everywhere we look says you gotta make money or you won't be shit. They have to be fed over-processed foods with sugars and chemicals that aren't allowed in other countries. They don't have opportunities. It costs like $2,000 a year to send a kid to learn karate. So why don't they just turn to crime? And then they go to a for-profit prison. And here in the land of the free, we We have more incarcerated people than most other Western civilizations in the world. The land of the free, where we put our kids into for-profit prisons. And all the kids suffer in this scenario because they don't spend time with their parents. Their parents have to work either 2 jobs to barely get by, living paycheck to paycheck, or the parents are so greedy, they work at companies that take advantage of other people so they can make the most money that they possibly can, so they can look like they're happy, but they spend all their time at work. I guess fucking people over makes them happy. These people that make this money, this decent money, they get caught up in this fucking ego game, thinking that's the meaning of life for some reason, even though they can't take it with them when they die, leaving the kids with no moral structure. And who does take care of these kids? The underpaid teachers. They're with their teachers more than they are with their parents. And these teachers have fucking had it. They don't get paid shit, and they're taking care of a bunch of your kids, and a lot of your kids are fucking shitty because you don't spend time with your fucking kids. Most people forget that there wouldn't be rich if there wasn't poor. The way we have this set up, you have to step on someone's back to make it ahead. This country punches down and down and down on the people who are already down. What is the end game? Since America is basically one big casino gambling Ponzi scheme, I wonder when we're going to cash out and then spread the wealth to our fellow country people. But the powers be, they don't want that to happen because they'd lose too much power and money. The politicians and corporations are the house. They're the real winners, and they've rigged the game for themselves on our earned dime. The thing that they don't want us to remember is that they can't be rich and powerful without riding on the backs of the poor and the middle class who've been paying the bulk of all this. Shouldn't the 1%, since they own most of the resources in the world, shouldn't they be paying their fair share? When are we going to stop voting for the ultra rich? Because they're just going to make themselves and their rich friends more wealthy and fuck everybody else. We fight for the crumbs that they spit out. In Citizens United, get money and lobbyists out of politics. 800,000 homeless in our fucking country. The richest country in the existence of mankind. That's all.
I'm Nate Griffin, and I approve this message. Paid for by the Nate Griffin Foundation.